Hey.
Alright y'all, so I think it's time we check back in with the Orlando Magic. They are red hot. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. They now sit second place in the Eastern Conference, ahead of the Bucks, ahead of the Sixers, 1 game behind the Boston Celtics, who they just beat on Friday afternoon. They got off to a bit of a slow start. They had some injuries. They lost 2 starters in Markelle Fultz and Wendell Carter Jr., who have both only played 5 games so far this season. But since both those guys have been out, the rest of the team has stepped up tremendously. Again, 7 of their last 8 have been wins. I actually made a video earlier this season, maybe a couple weeks ago, about the rough start for the Magic. And the main headline in that video was that I just didn't think Paolo Banchero was playing the same as he did last season when he won Rookie of the Year. I felt he needed to be more aggressive, and since making that video, he has been more aggressive. He's taking almost 3 more field goal attempts per game. His points per game is also up 3 points. He's shooting the ball more efficiently. In this game against the Celtics, he was doing a great job driving to the rack, getting those same looks that helped him be a great player last season. Now, before we dive into specific player stuff, I do want to go back to the big picture just for a second here. Some other things playing into this Orlando hot streak include just the fact that they are shooting the ball so much better from 3 as a team. During their first 8 games of the season, when they started 4-4, they only had 4 players on the entire roster with a 3-point percentage above 34%, and one of those guys was Caleb Houston, who was averaging 6 minutes a game. Now compare that to these last 8 games, and they have 7 guys now shooting above 34%, 8 if you count Chuma Okeke, but he's gotten 4 minutes a game in 4 games of action, so I'm just gonna exclude him from this. For some other stats, the Orlando Magic, as I'm making this video, currently are sporting the best defensive rating in the entire NBA. Very impressive. They also are number 1 in free throw rate, so even though their offense is currently ranked 23rd in offensive rating, the fact that they're getting to the free throw line, the best in the entire NBA, is right now enough to support their offense, enough to win them games, which we'll have to see how that number progresses throughout the season. But it's a great sign to see them focus on getting to the free throw line. Y'all know I love free throws. It's the easiest way to score in the entire game of basketball. Outside that, they are also 6th in offensive rebound percentage as a team and 3rd in defensive rebound percentage as a team. They're doing a great job of controlling the glass. Again, that's also a big factor helping them win games. And perhaps the most important stat, they are also 1st in the NBA in turnover percentage. And this basically means that this defense is forcing the most turnovers per possession in the entire NBA, which again is a very good stat to have on your side. And then one last thing about the offense for the Orlando Magic, and this is also a crazy stat, but they do not have a single player averaging over 20 points per game. Paolo Banchero is the closest at 19.6, and Franz is at 18.9. Now, I would expect both of them to hit 20 at some point this season and stay there. But for now, to be the 2nd best team in the East, 1 game out of 1st, and not have a single player above 20 points per game, especially when you consider the fact that there are currently 47 players in the NBA averaging over 20 points a game. It really is just a testament to show that this has been a full team effort from the Orlando Magic on their hot start. The starters are playing well, the bench is also playing extremely well. They're one of the best bench units in the entire NBA. The broadcast from the Celtics game showed a whole bunch of great stats for the bench. The Orlando Magic are just playing really good basketball. And spearheading it all is, again, Paolo Banchero. He's back to being the same aggressive guy that we saw win Rookie of the Year last year. He also has looked like he's improved in his passing, whether it's at the post or just initiating plays from the top of the key. That's another area of his game that I would expect him to continue to improve on. Now, as for his co-star, Franz Wagner, this has been a really interesting case because back when I made my first Magic video earlier in the season, I think I pretty much said that Wagner is playing decent, but he could be playing better, and I still feel that way. I personally have seen Franz be a better player than he has been so far this season. He's averaging around the same numbers that he did for all of last season too, and I watch the tape and I just don't think that he hasn't improved, if that makes sense. Right now, his shooting efficiency is way down compared to his career averages, so that's the biggest thing to me and why I feel pretty confident in saying that he will increase his numbers at some point this season. I'm not sure when that will be at this point. But one thing is for sure about Franz, I continue to just love watching him operate in the pick and roll. getting pressure on the rim, driving his lanes, and him and Paolo were just absolutely abusing Luke Kornet in this game. It was very tough to watch as a Celtics fan. And speaking of the Wagners, let's talk about Mo Wagner real quick, because he had, I would expect it to be a career high 27 points in this one. And as someone who was a Mo Wagner hater for pretty much his entire career, this turnaround he's had in the last year or so in Orlando has been insane to watch. I still am wondering if he could provide as a full-time starter, because even with Wendell Carter Jr. out, the Magic have been starting Goga Bitadze, who isn't terrible, but they just seem like a better team when Mo Wagner is on the court. And to Mo's credit, he has become just an absolute grinder at the center position. He plays tough defense, he's physical, he takes a lot of charges. The broadcast mentioned he's near the top of the league in charges taken so far this season. And on offense, he just sets good screens, rolls hard to the rim, is a bit of an underrated finisher at the rim, in my opinion. At least he was cooking in the Celtics game. And if he really has to, he can stretch the floor and knock down a three every now and then. And that's just, he's such a good jack of all trades off the bench that, he'll have his nights like he did in this one. And he has been a super valuable piece to this Magic team. And another guy that has shown a ton of improvement over these past couple of weeks is Cole Anthony. He has taken over this six-man job for the Orlando Magic, has been such a great producer off the bench at scoring the ball. He's also been showing some great flashes of playmaking and flashes of defense, things that we just haven't really seen from him in past seasons. Plus, he had this one insane finish on a lob over, I think it might have been over Jaylen Brown, and the energy he brings to this team off the bench is a huge reason why that bench is so successful. Outside of that, I'll continue to harp on it. Jalen Suggs continues to be one of my favorite players to watch in the entire NBA. Ultimate hustle guy, gives 120% energy for every second he's out on the court. He's always moving off ball on offense. He can knock down threes. Was continuing to play tremendous defense, whether it's point of attack, defending the drive. They stuck him on Jason Tatum for most of the time on the court, and he did a pretty solid job in that area as well. And at this point, if you do not enjoy watching Jalen Suggs play basketball, then I just have to ask, what's up? What's your issue? And speaking of defense, Jonathan Isaac continues to do miracles on me on that end of the court. He is still ramping up, I believe, in minutes-wise off the bench, but every time he steps foot on the court, it's just so easy to see the difference in the defense. They've been using him kind of as a 5-ish in the front court off the bench. And in this game, when he was paired with Mo Wagner on those bench units, they were just absolutely clamping up the paint. Isaac was doing a tremendous job at shutting down Jason Tatum. Had a few possessions where he was just giving absolutely nothing and forcing some really terrible shots. Plus, his offense is slowly on the rise, and I would not at all be surprised if he can maybe find his way into the starting lineup at some point. I think if they were to run Suggs, Wagner, Banchero, Isaac, and Wendell Carter Jr. lineup down the line, that could be a really, really fun lineup to watch. So the big question at the end of the day, are the Magic actual contenders or are they pretenders? And obviously, we'll need some more time to figure it out. We're only, 16-ish games into their season at least. And it's usually around game 20 where we figure out what teams really are. If I had to make a say right now, I don't think they're contenders in the East. They are not in that top tier. I kind of think of them more as like the Cavs last year, where they have been a really solid team, especially defensively throughout the regular season. But I just question what their offense is going to look like, especially come playoff time later on in the season. And while I am totally all in on the Magic for the future and years to come, they're ahead of schedule. I don't think, even if you were to ask the most positive people about the Magic this offseason, I think they're exceeding even their expectations so far, which is a good thing. But again, in terms of actually being a true contender in the East with the teams like the Bucks, 76ers, and Celtics, I just don't quite think they're there yet. But again, that's not a bad thing. They have plenty of time to figure it out. Insanely young roster with a ton of just talent and great players on that team. And I do think the biggest takeaway at the end of the day with this roster is the fact that they are first in defensive rating, because there are a lot of good defenses in the NBA and they currently stand at the top. But That's all I got for this one. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those good things, and I'll see y'all in the next one.